Going on, everybody? What is going on? The catch fam. I hope everyone is doing fantastic tonight. Hope you guys have had an incredible start to the week. I hope everyone's Monday was incredible. Hope you guys are ready for another 2024 fantasy football draft because we have time to squeeze a couple more in here. But more importantly, hope you guys are ready for the 2024 fantasy football season, because whether you are ready or not, things are kicking off in just a couple of days. Like I said, it is Monday. That means we have Tuesday, then Wednesday, then Thursday night. Get this much anticipated matchup between the Ravens and the Chiefs. It's going to be a great game. It's going to be a great way to start this season. Gonna be a great way to start our fantasy football season. So you know what it is. Whatever you guys need: starts, sits, trades, waiver wire, rate your teams. Have you drafted yet? Have you not drafted yet? Are you drafting tonight? Are you drafting tomorrow? Are you drafting Wednesday night? Drafting Thursday morning? Any fantasy football questions, get in the live stream, get in the chat, and let's have some fun. Let's talk some fantasy football tonight. And like I said, in the meantime, looks like we're hopping into the Flock community number 10. So if you guys do want to draft with me, I'm going to enter at 10:55 p.m. Eastern time. If you guys are new to Underdog Fantasy, the promo link is down below. New customers on Underdog Fantasy will get a deposit match, 50% deposit match up to $1,000. $1,000 in bonus cash on Underdog Fantasy. And a free pick'em for week 1, which is Travis Kelce over half of a total yard. Not a bad offer. So 10:55 p.m. Eastern time. Let's squeeze in one more draft. But more importantly, any fantasy football questions you guys have, I'm entering the lobby in 3, 2, 1. Please get in the live chat and let's talk some fantasy football, okay? All right. I'm in the draft. 10 spots if anyone wants to get in. Sometimes these drafts are filled right away, but 10 spots available, $10 entry. It'll fill either way. But if you guys do want to draft with me, it's a good opportunity to do so. All right. Let me just get everything set here. And we should be good to go in just a second. All right, let's see who's in the chat tonight. Chase, what's going on, man? How are you doing? Always good to have you in the house. Ghost Hunter, what's up? What's up? Good to see you guys. You guys done with all your drafting for the year? Do you have one more draft left? How are you feeling about your teams? Let me know. Kobe just finished my League of Record draft. Let's go. This is perfect timing. Let me know the squad. Dried Ocean, what's up, man? Guys, I do have start sits. Every matchup for running backs and wide receivers both went out today. Tomorrow, quarterbacks and tight ends will go out. So be sure to check out the videos for the week. And they might help with some of your start sit questions. But of course, you can still ask me as well. What do you think of my 16-man PPR team? We got Dak and Caleb, A-Chain, Zeke, CD, DJ Moore, and Joku Dell. I mean, for a 16-team format, it's certainly not bad. It is really interesting to me. I think every 16-team league I've seen so far, including my team and my 116-team league, Zeke or Dowdle's the RB2, which is just interesting to me. I mean, that's the weakest spot on this team, but I think you know that. But honestly, everything else looks pretty good here. You're set at quarterback. I think Njoku can get you through at tight end. Then you're obviously good at wide receiver. And at least you have A-Chain as your RB1 with that high upside. Had the second pick, so I'm imagining he went CD. Give me some A.J. Brown exposure tonight. Let's go. But yeah, I mean, for a starting lineup for 16 teams, this is certainly not bad by any stretch. I could read you some of the teams in my 16-team league. They do not look that good. Ford, Watson, Dell pick 2.5 PPR. See, this is tough because, in half PPR, you're going to naturally start Jerome Ford. I mean, you want to start the running back, and this is a smash spot for Jerome Ford. So I would start Ford, and then you're looking for the most touchdown upside. And I mean, I think Watson and Dell have a lot of touchdown upside. I mean, if you really just want to go for upside, you could set Ford here and start Watson and Dell. But I think the safest start would be Ford and Dell. But I really like Christian Watson this week. So this is tough. I mean, the Colts were 13th against opposing wide receivers last year. Sorry, on the clock again. Let's go Marvin Harrison here. So, I mean, that's a little bit better than you may think, but does it matter for Tank Dell? I don't know, because how are you going to line up against this offense? And Dell is probably going to get the best out of that equation, being the wide receiver 3 on paper. And then, I mean, the Eagles were the second worst, allowed the second most fantasy points to wide receivers last year. So Watson has tons of upside. So that's really tough. I mean, like I said, I think the safe play is Ford and Dell, but if you want to kind of go for that additional upside, I'm assuming these are your flex spots. I might just go Watson and Dell. Tough. Do I trade Deontay Johnson, Godwin, and Rico for Marvin Harrison Jr.? It really depends on the entire roster here, and I don't think I would. I mean, I always try to remind you guys, especially early in the season, depth is so important, especially as the season goes on. So I'm not really afraid of losing Rico from this potential roster, but I still think Deontay and Godwin offer a lot of good value as the season goes on. It's not an awful trade. It's going to depend on the rest of the roster and what things look like if you do this trade. All right, so here's Kobe's team, half PPR. We got Allen Gibbs, Chuba Moss, Dowdle, Ray Davis. So definitely went kind of hero RB here. A.J. Brown, Debo, Tank, Worthy, Roman Dunze. A lot of upside there. Receiver, and Wicks as well. Then Kincaid at tight end. So you're going to be starting Allen, Kincaid, Gibbs. Let's say Zach Moss, A.J. Brown, Debo, Tank Dell. Then if you have an additional flex, you have options. So good team. I mean, your starting lineup's fine. You don't have the greatest upside at RB2, but you probably chose to do so to get that additional depth at wide receiver. I will say in half PPR, I mean, I do prefer a little bit of additional RB depth over wide receiver depth, but you got plenty of touchdown upside with your wide receivers. So I think it's probably okay. Starting lineup looks good. You just kind of rotate that RB2. I think for week 1, I'd have Allen, Gibbs, Moss, Brown, Debo, Tank, Dell as my starting lineup. If you have an additional flex, I'd probably just throw Worthy out there, but a Dunze is okay. Then you're definitely starting Kincaid. Chase got one more draft tomorrow with the Catch. That's right, the Catch league number 5. Drafting tomorrow. I'm excited. Wow, Rashee Rice is now a 3rd rounder. I'm just going to draft Derrick Henry. He kind of fell here. I was planning on starting with 4 wide receivers, but I'll go Henry. Going to see if I can sneak into another draft somewhere before Thursday. I'm sure you can find one if you want one. Which other wide receivers would you go for with those group of 3? I mean, it's hard to say. You're going to need to find a wide receiver team that's also like looking for RB depth. So hard to say. I mean, I think maybe you break into the next tier guys with like, if you know like a fantasy manager's low on Drake London or Chris Olave, I think those are certainly players worth that trade. Maybe Adams. Maybe if a manager's low on Waddle, I think if you can break into that tier, it's probably fine. I think if you get Marvin Harrison Jr., that's fine too. But it's like it just really depends on what the rest of the roster looks like, and you might have fantasy managers higher on Marvin Harrison Jr. than some of those other guys I just named. You know what? Let's go Josh Allen here. I was not planning on doing this. Heavy wide receiver draft. Let's go early quarterback. 4-point passing touchdown, 10 teams. We got Lamar, Tyreek, Mike Evans, T. Higgins, Gibbs, Cook, Ingram, Aaron Jones. You got Sutton, Godwin, Warren, Tua commit. You got Chubb and Keaton Mitchell on the IR. That's a solid team. I mean, it's okay for a 10-teamer. I feel like maybe there should be a little bit more upside, but I guess not. I mean, you're pretty stacked here. Yeah, you're fine. I'll take that back. But yeah, Lamar, Hill, Evans. You're starting 3 wide receivers in this format. Starting Higgins, Gibbs, and Cook, Ingram. I think Aaron Jones fine to flex this week. Good matchup against the Giants. Sam Darnold's going to need a good run game. But you could flex Sutton or Godwin. Godwin's a guy against the Commanders that I feel really good about this week, but I do like Sutton too. But if you prefer Aaron Jones, that's okay. So team looks good. Yeah, team looks good. Never drafted Allen in any mocks, but he fell to me in round 4. All the wide receivers I like were gone. That's basically what just happened to me in this draft. Had to pull the trigger. I mean, hey, team turned out good, I think. Ghost Hunter also got Zeke. Don't forget about Crusty Dusty Zeke. Yeah, boy, what's up? 12-man full PPR. What do you think of my team? Quarterbacks are QBs Anthony Richardson and Tua. So I want to make sure it's not quarterbacks are Tua, but I think it's AR and Tua, as in Anthony Richardson and Tua. A-Chain, Chase Brown, Chuba, Corum, Dowdle, Mason. Certainly went 0 or hero RB. Then we got Hill, Adams, Ayuk, Kirk, Adunze. Any moves you think I should make for another running back? I think you're kind of committed to hero RB at the moment. I mean, you're going to have to sacrifice wide receiver depth in order, unless you can find a way to tier up by trading like Chase Brown and Chuba Hubbard. I think I just roll with the running backs that you have for now. I think I just take the upside of A-Chain. I'd probably go off of volume and start Chuba in week 1. Start Richardson, start Hill, Adams, flex Ayuk. If you have an additional flex Kirk. I think I just kind of roll that way. All right, give me Kirk go here. Yeah, I mean, like, what else are you gonna really do? Like, are you gonna offload Kirk and Chuba or Kirk and Chase Brown? I mean, I think one thing is like if you committed to hero RB during your draft, then you want to keep that wide receiver depth. So I think I just kind of roll with what you got and play the waivers at running back. So you look good everywhere else. Tommy, what's going on, man? Let me check here. Yeah, in terms of your queue that you set for tomorrow's draft, I'd probably set more than 40 players. I'd probably set, 40 might be okay. I'd set a couple players for each round and go from there. Hold on, let me make this draft pick. I'm gonna go Christian Watson here. Yeah, I'd probably I go through maybe outside of the first and second round, but I for every other round I go through and I queue a few players. And let me pull up your team. All right, so you've got, hold on, Jaden Daniels, Rasheed Rice, Calvin Ridley, Kyron, A-Chain, McBride, Jacobs, Watson. Your starting lineup, so it's a 2 flex format, and I'm assuming it's full PPR as well. Coleman, Mooney, McLaughlin, Jalen Wright, Kirko Chains on the bench, as well as the Ravens defense. So interesting team here. I think I saw in the chat you went Kyron in the first, then A-Chain in the second. Which, I mean, I will hand it to you. I like that one thing you do in your drafts is you go out and you draft who you want. I think that there's something certainly to be said about that. Can't really be disappointed, if you draft who you want. But just what wide receivers were there, because if AJ Brown or Garrett Wilson were there, I still think they are far more valuable right now. What was Kyron, RB8 last year? I mean, you have a lot of upside, and the only way you're going to get the pairing of Kyron and A-Chain is if you made the move that you made. So I think that's fine. But then you looked at, you still ended up with Josh Jacobs. I think you would have been fine if you went A-Chain Jacobs and you had a more studly first round wide receiver. But it's a really interesting team. I think that this team can make it through. Let me make this draft pick. I'm either going Ferguson or, actually, I think I am just gonna go Ferguson. Get quarterback and tight end out of the way early. Yeah, let's do that. But a couple. Yeah, I mean, my main thing is if you look at this roster a little bit differently, and it's Jaden Daniels, AJ Brown, Rasheed Rice, A-Chain, Jacobs, McBride, Watson. Then that last flex is Coleman or Mooney. You can kind of fluctuate there. You can figure out the last flex. I just think it's in a better spot. Or maybe you still got Ridley, and then Ridley's just in the flex. Then I think you're just in a better spot, especially in a double flex format. For me, I prefer those 4 spots all being wide receivers. So, like I said, I mean, I still give you credit for going out and drafting who you wanted there. And like I said, you can't really be down on your team if you go out and you draft who you have the most conviction in. So, an interesting team. I will say I don't like the Ravens defense in week 1. And that's the interesting thing about owning them right now is you don't really want to drop the Ravens defense. So let's see. They play the Raiders next week. And they're at Dallas, at home against Buffalo, at Cincinnati. Then they get Washington, at Tampa Bay, at Cleveland. It's not really the kindest schedule. But they're one of these teams, the defense 2 last year, who they're just, you don't really want to drop them. They're going to have a lot of solid performances this year, and they will have good performances against good offenses. So that's kind of the tough part of owning them, is you might want to have like a streaming option, like the Bears, Seahawks, Bengals, Saints. Well, the Saints are kind of highly rostered right now. And the Ravens defense, because it's week 1. There's going to be fireworks in this game. The offense is going to be on display. It's not going to be like the week 1 game last year, and even then the Chiefs still found a way to score points. But I don't really like starting them in week 1. But don't go out of your way to, like, I don't know who you drop. It'd have to be Jalen Wright or Jaleel McLaughlin. But I wouldn't be overly concerned about running back depth on this team either. Like, yes, you have 2 injury-ish prone guys in A-Chain and Kyron, but like, you committed to drafting and spending early draft capital on Kyron, A-Chain, and Josh Jacobs. You're going to live or die by those 3 guys. So I think you got to sacrifice a bench spot, whether it's Jalen Wright or McLaughlin. And call me crazy, but I dropped Jalen Wright for now. But maybe not, because you have A-Chain, so I guess I keep him. And I tough situation there. But hey, like I said, I respect the team, Tommy. I respect the team. Ghost Hunter also has Money Mac and Philly's defense on that team. Philly defense, another team that I don't like defensively week 1. They weren't really a team that you played in fantasy last year. They were the defense 27. Secondary still really weak. They were awful the second half of the season defensively. So, and I think Green Bay offensively is going to be great in week 1. So keep that in mind. If you can grab a streaming option, like I said, and must start defenses and streams is out for the week, but I would basically emphasize the Bengals, Seahawks, and Bears as the most attainable, best value streaming options this week for defensive team slots. Albert, what's up? How are you, Albert? Good to see you, bro. For AR, who should my QB2 be on bench? I have Hill and A-Chain, so keep Tua or drop him for Goff. I just keep Tua. I mean, if you prefer Goff, that's fine, but I'm not dropping Tua because I own Hill and A-Chain. Like, don't freak out. I mean, like, it's still a great offense. You can have multiple players on that offense, but yeah, I would probably just roll with Tua. I like Goff a lot, but I probably just roll with Tua. Stack, I don't think it hurts you here. 12-man PPR triple flex. We got Love, Goddard, A-Chain, Zamir, the Sun God, Devonta Smith, Higgins, Kirk, Reed. Nice. Benches, Myers, B. Tom, Shaheed, Bateman, Dortch, Wright, McLaughlin, and Pirine. Interesting. So yeah, the starting lineup looks fine. Love, Goddard, A-Chain, White, Amon-Ra, Devonta, Higgins, Kirk, Reed. Fine. The bench, I mean, you're in a 12-team format, triple flex, so I would imagine the wide receivers on the bench not going to be as stout because that position was more targeted in your draft. But Myers, B. Tom, Shaheed, fine. Bateman, Dortch, we'll find out. Wright, McLaughlin, Pirine. You know what tier you got there. The running back depth here is not great. I would just say waivers first and foremost. You're probably targeting running backs. Bryce, Timas, Burrow, Hall, A-Chain, Wilson, McBride, Cup, Godwin, benches, Deontay, B. Tom, Polk, Jalen McMillan, Wright, Allen, Rico, and so you'd be sending Wilson, Rico, Godwin, Deontay, and Rico. You'd be getting MH Jr. So that leave you with Burrow, Hall, A-Chain, Wilson, McBride, Cup, MH. Then you'd have B. Tom, Polk, McMillan, Wright, Allen. I mean, I think you could do this trade, but I don't know. I think the depth here, looking at the team, is more important. So I probably wouldn't do so. I think the depth here is more important. If you're really high on Marvin Harrison, though, I think you can, but I think having, because it's like B Tom, like I think it's be a little bit volatile here. Then, like, if you don't have B Tom and Deontay on the bench, you're moving right into McMillan and Polk as the next best flex options. And I just don't think you can afford to do it. Tommy, better stash McLaughlin or Ty Chandler. Both are intriguing. Aaron Jones or Javonte could go down. Yeah. I think both are certainly intriguing, but I don't know. Sorry, let me make this draft pick. Go Goddard. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, anyone could go down. But you are right. I mean, Jones, Javonte, both injured in at least the last 2 years. So I think I lean personally Ty Chandler, but I know a lot of people who would lean McLaughlin. I think this is really a personal question. Which running back do you think is more likely to get injured? Because your guess is as good as mine. And then B, if that starting running back gets injured, which offense do you believe in more? Sean Payton Broncos or Kevin O'Connell's Vikings, Bo Nix and Sam Darnold, their respective quarterbacks? I probably still lean the Vikings, but so I think I lean Ty Chandler here, but this is certainly up for debate. Don't get me wrong. Ken, what's up, man? Can you give advice on my team? 10-man PPR. We got A-Rich, JT, Ford, Wilson, Collins, Cup, Devonta, McBride. Very nice starting lineup. Should I play Javonte over Ford? I would say no. I do like Javonte this week. If you need to start him, I think he's okay. I think he's perfectly fine. He's definitely startable. I have him in the start category for start sits, but I have Jerome Ford also in the start category at a much, much higher anticipated ceiling. So way bigger fan of Ford this week at home. The volume for Jerome Ford is going to be really high. And I think that offensively, the Browns will have more success at home, even against the Cowboys, in comparison to the Broncos on the road going up against the Hawks. So, I mean, it might be close here, but I definitely prefer Ford. And the rest of the lineup looks very good. Nick, what's up, my guy? Thoughts on Chase? Meh, it's getting close here. So, yeah, it doesn't feel great. But we just got to sit back and kind of see what happens here. No real reason to kind of anticipate or try and speculate on what's going to happen here. Nobody really knows, but I think we all knew, technically speaking, if you drafted Jamar Chase, there was a little bit of risk here. I wasn't really worried about it going into drafts, still drafting leading up until probably at least Wednesday night. And I'd probably still take the chance on Chase. We'll kind of see what happens. I think there's a good chance he suits up, but we'll find out. Trade Chase for Barkley. Will they accept? I mean, it really depends on the roster. You're trading a top tier wide receiver for a top tier running back. So, it's a big switch off from your team. It really depends on the roster. And I think I just hold on to Chase. I don't. And will they accept? I mean, they certainly might. It depends on their roster. So if you really, really don't think that Chase is going to play, then you could do this here, but I probably wouldn't. Nick, congrats on Bijan. I wanted you to finally get him. Thanks. I was only going to go in the auction draft $1 more for Bijan. And I like my team in that league, but I went aggressive at running back early. Like I went out and got Bijan and Derrick Henry and spent, pretty good money in the draft on them. And I wish I had done the opposite, looking at, what things could have looked like if I went 0 RB and went aggressive at wide receiver early. Things I think certainly would have looked better looking at the running backs that were available late in that draft, but and the cost of some of those running backs. But it is what it is. Bijan, Derrick Henry, I still think is a great combo. And I still got good wide receivers in that league. But look at some of the teams that went like wide receiver aggressive early, spent, high draft capital and bid on wide receivers aggressively early and got like 4 wide receivers. And it is what it is. But thank you for letting me get Bijan. Seriously, I was only going to bid $1 more. I think Bijan was like the second most expensive player in the auction league this year after Tyreek Hill. I might be wrong, but he was up there. J-Tube, what's up? Do I accept Murray and Puka for Daniels and Garrett Wilson? I get Murray, I McBride, and MH Jr. Meh. You can. I mean, this is one of those kind of linear trades where I'm like, I'm okay with it, but what does it really mean for your roster? It's tough to say. Like, I prefer Garrett Wilson over Puka. I prefer Kyler Murray over Jaden Daniels. So you slightly, tear down at wide receiver, but not by much. I think you upgrade at quarterback. So I think for that reason, I'd probably just do it, even ignoring the stack that you're going to get. Like stacking and redraft is fine, but it just doesn't hold a tremendous amount of merit. So I'm okay with doing this. I think I would strongly consider it because Puka for me is still only like, he's hardly off tier with Garrett Wilson as much as I like Garrett Wilson. So, I think if Puka never got the knee injury, this would be like a no doubt smash trade because you have Puka and Garrett just right next to each other in rankings and you're upgrading at quarterback. So I'd probably do this trade, even ignoring the stack. Mega Break, what's up? Hello. Tommy, love my upside. A lot of rushing. Never thought to go 3 straight running backs, but it was hard to pass on Jacobs in the late third. Yeah, like sometimes you just got to ignore everything and just say, hey, this is the best player on the board, right? Also hoping for Coleman and Seawat to smash. Yeah, it's an interesting team. I think it's always okay, especially if you're playing in multiple leagues, to just have like one league where you just kind of go against the grain, So I don't hate the team by any stretch, but I still prefer probably a wide receiver where you drafted Kyron, but we'll see. I always like when you guys have some of these teams that are against the grain because then it's like it's good for the rest of us to pay attention to, or at least I get to pay attention to it throughout the season and kind of see how things shape out. Because then you draft it against the grain and gives us something else to kind of consider going into next year. Ghost Hunter, we got 1 super flex spot, 11 teams. Oh, it is weird. Kyler, Caleb, Goff, Henry, Mixon, Mostert, Benson, Gibby, Tyreek, CD, Diggs, Reed, Ladd, Dobbs, Hyatt, Ingram, commit, 3 flex spots. Wow. So you're starting Kyler and Caleb or Kyler and Goff, Henry, Mixon, Hill, CD. You're flexing Diggs, Mostert, Reed, unless you prefer Dobbs in there. I don't think you do. And you're starting Ingram. This team's fine. How does that work for the playoffs when you only have 11 teams? That's what I'm interested in. Projected to win 1 game. Also, someone in my chat was going to take Jacobs, but I sniped him. He's loaded at wide receiver, potential trade option. Man, I think you're committed, dude. You got to keep those 3 running backs. Like, I think, you commit to a draft strategy. Don't turn around and change it. For the right offer, you always should. But, yeah, is definitely interesting here. I would just roll with those 3 running backs all year long, even in full PPR. But yeah, I mean, for the right offer, you got to consider it. Oh, and you said your phone loud and you drafted your defense. Like I said, the Ravens tough to drop, but I don't want to start them in week 1. Full PPR, would you drop Shakir for McLaughlin or Jordan Mason? I'd probably just keep Shakir. Would I drop Dowdle for either of those running backs? No. If you're really heavy at wide receiver and it doesn't, like, you're not even going to consider starting Shakir at all, which right now he is a bench player for me. I think you can go out and get Jordan Mason, but that's just because he's tied to the Niners. But I'd probably just keep Shakir and I keep Dowdle. Tommy got sniped on Corum. Meh, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. Do I accept Murray and Puka? So we already hit this one. I think I would do this trade. Was about to ask if you would drop for Cincinnati. Yeah. Would you drop the Bills defense for the Seahawks? I would. I mean, sorry, somebody just fell over in my room. Freaked me out. I don't expect the Bills defense to be good this year. So I don't have a problem dropping them. You look at what they did last year when they were a top tier fantasy option in terms of defenses, and I just don't think we're going to get that this year. So, I mean, they've been a top 10 fantasy defense 4 years in a row, so maybe it's not fair to deviate against that. And they were the defense 4 last year, but this defense is just not the same on paper. And I'm really worried about their secondary specifically. So I get why they got drafted, but I'm just a little bit afraid to roll them out with confidence. They play Arizona, Miami, Jacksonville, Baltimore, Houston, the Jets. When are you going to feel comfortable starting them in the first 6 weeks? Maybe against the Jets, but they're on the road in that matchup. Then they get Tennessee, Seattle, not as bad, but 2 maybe sneaky offenses there. Then they're at the Colts and they play Kansas City. They get a bye week. Then they have the Niners, Rams, Lions. I don't really feel like the Bills are going to be one of these teams that we're looking at as super fantasy relevant in terms of defenses. They get New England in week 16, though. And then again, and unfortunately, don't play New England again until week 18. So I probably just commit to streaming defenses. But like I said, I mean, the Bills defense the last 4 years in fantasy has been really good. It's just, I think this might be the year where that changes. Mega big break. We got a 12-man full PPR, Goff, Amon-Ra, London, Mixon, A-Chain, Pittman in the flex, Ingram at tight end. Your bench is Purdy, White, Hollywood, Palmer, Schultz, Judy. Rate my team. Yeah, team looks pretty solid. Bench is actually pretty strong. I mean, it looks like a pretty competitive 12-team format here. So I'd give you a solid 8. I think your starting lineup is correct, though. I would not change anything. I do really like Zamir White this week, but I think you leave Mixon and A-Chain in there. It's full PPR. You got to flex Pittman. So I probably wouldn't change anything. Man, how did I end up? I drafted 9 wide receivers. Guess I'll draft Bryce Young. I got Josh Allen. I guess I can go 2 quarterbacks. Yeah, I don't think you need to move anyone off the bench here. I am not a Jerry Jeudy believer personally. So if you want to drop Jeudy for someone else on the waiver, I am okay with that. But other than that, I think the team looks solid here. Should I trade Purdy and Kenneth for Lamar and Javonte? My other running backs are Chuba, Kyron, Cook. It's PPR with one quarterback start. Is Purdy your only quarterback? This is kind of tough. This one's tough. Let me draft a running back. I guess I'm going 2 QBs with Bryce Young as my second quarterback. You tier up at quarterback, and I am fine with Purdy. I really am. But you definitely tier up going from Purdy to Lamar. Then you tier down at running back. I really like Kenneth Walker, though. So, I mean, I like Javonte, but part of the reason why I like Javonte was I liked him as ADP, and now we're in week 1. Like, ADP doesn't really matter. Like, a player doesn't hold value just because they got drafted at a good ADP necessarily. So this is tough. I think I keep Purdy and Kenneth because I think Purdy can still finish top 10 at the quarterback position. And I think Kenneth, as much as I like Javonte, will still finish further ahead of Javonte on the season. So I think I'd hold, but it is close. Maybe depends on the rest of the roster, but I'm pretty high on Kenneth right now. Mega Break, no worries at all. Happy to answer your guys' questions. But yeah, I would stick with Pittman here in full PPR. I would definitely stick with Pittman. Definitely the best option. Not close for me. Saints or Bucks defense. I go with the Saints. I mean, I do like the Bucks this week, but I think you'd have to be kind of in an extreme situation to start them. They still weren't a great defense last year. So, yeah, I would just roll with the Saints. I really like them this week against the Panthers on the road. Should I do a week 1 draft? Yeah, maybe I'll do that like Wednesday night or something. Let's just enter another flock. I really like the Saints defense this week, though. I mean, I've been on record throughout the offseason, like, yes, I do like the Panthers defense to be better this year, but or excuse me, the Panthers offense to be better this year, but I'm still taking the Saints at home with a great performance this week. So should I drop Lockett for Chandler or McLaughlin or Shaheed? So it really depends on the team. I mean, I will say the player that I prefer out of these 4 is Shaheed. But then again, it depends, like, how bad do you need a potential, running back handcuff on this team? But I think overall, I'd probably just keep Shaheed or go for Shaheed here. I mean, Lockett's still fine, but I prefer Shaheed. Flex Coleman or Watson week 1, leaning Watson. I definitely flex Watson. I think Watson going up against this Philadelphia secondary is a far, far better start. Coleman is in that category. You could flex him if you're forced to, but Watson against the Eagles is definitely where I lean here. Might be back on the C-Watt train. Yeah, I mean, if you're flexing C-Watt, you can continue to do so. Like, you don't want to maybe necessarily have him as your wide receiver 2, but you drafted Watson to be in the flex and give you that volatility that also leads to a lot of upside for sure. Watson's kind of a more known entity, I guess, but I'd say Coleman is higher upside since he's facing the Cardinals. I mean, that's fair too. Like, it's not like the Cardinals were necessarily anything good defensively last year, but they still came in middle of the pack, 17th against opposing wide receivers in fantasy, where the Eagles were second to last, second most points allowed. So I don't get me wrong, Cardinals defense not good, but I much worse against the run than anything else. So I lean Christian Watson, but it's fair. Thoughts on Anthony Richardson this season? Have him as my quarterback in a majority of leagues. Yeah, I mean, I like Richardson. The upside is huge. We all know the only problem with Richardson, because we have such a small sample size, is, what do we do if he's injured? We've only seen him play in like 4 games. So, I mean, by no stretch am I out on Richardson by any means. But we kind of got to sit back and see a full season out of Anthony Richardson, because we had not seen him play a full season. So I think having him in a majority of leagues is still okay, but I think he's one of those players that I was vocal throughout the offseason about just keeping a player on the bench, whether it's Goff or Trevor Lawrence or just a guy like that, Stafford, who gives you, kind of just a safe floor in terms of a pocket passing quarterback who's potentially not as, up for injury. But I'm okay with Richardson for sure. Cali Loco, what's up? Happy PR 12 team. We got Goff, Kyron, Monty, Garrett Wilson, Devonta, Laporta, Amari, Chase, Moss, Blake Corum, Benson, Dobbs, Demarcus Robinson, my guy. AD Mitchell, Cowboys defense, Brandon Aubrey. Thoughts? Yeah. Definitely an interesting team. Looks like it was a bit of a competitive draft for you. Let me make this draft pick. So you're starting Goff, Kyron, Monty, Wilson, Devonta, Laporta. Then you're flexing Amari. How do you draft this team? And Chase? This is a keeper league? Because unless Kyron fell. But then you also got Devonta. And Laporta, how do you draft this team in a 12-teamer? Anyways, I mean, the starting lineup looks great. You got Wilson, Devonta, Amari Cooper, and Jamar Chase with Laporta, Kyron, Monty, Goff. I mean, very solid. Moss, Corum, good options on the bench. I'm not really high on Benson right now. Like, I'm not against him. It's just the offseason wasn't particularly, or preseason, I should say, wasn't particularly kind to him. We'll have to wait and see on that one. Dobbs, AD Mitchell, and Demarcus Robinson, I'm all good with on the bench. Brandon Aubrey, I'm definitely okay with at kicker. Cowboys defense scares me right now. I don't think they're going to be as good as they were last year. They have been a top 2 defense 3 years in a row in fantasy, though. They get Cleveland at Cleveland, then they have the Saints at home in week 2. Then they get Baltimore at home. So I think you can hold on to them, because then they're at the Giants, at Pittsburgh. Like, I mean, if you have to roll them out against Cleveland, I think it's okay. You can play in week 2 at home against the Saints. Probably don't want to start them against Baltimore, but then they get the Giants and Pittsburgh before they face Detroit at home. So I think you can hold on to them. Then they have a tough stretch after the bye week at the Niners, at the Falcons. Then they have Philly at home and Houston at home. So a little bit of a tough stretch there, but we'll have to wait and see. I'll go Metcalf here. Other than that, yeah, I think you look good here. How'd you draft this team, though? Chase, Ayuk or Deontay? I'm still, wow, I can't talk. Still leaning Ayuk. Yeah. Nervous about Ayuk against Sauce. Yeah, I mean, that's fair. Short preseason, offseason, however you want to look at it. So I mean, that's certainly fair, but I think you have to just trust Ayuk in this matchup. It's a tough matchup. The Jets allowed the fewest fantasy points to wide receivers last year. But then the Saints, on the other hand, if I can find them. Yeah, they were still top 10. They allowed the 9th fewest points. So believe it or not, I mean, the Saints defense, I think we think of as good, but the interesting thing is the Panthers allowed the 3rd fewest, which I think that's more of a believe it or not situation in that same matchup. But yeah, I think I trust Ayuk here. If you don't feel good about it, though, I think you could roll out Deontay, but I think I trust Ayuk. Jackson, what's up, man? 10-man, 1 flex PPR league. We got Caleb and Jaden Daniels going with the rookie quarterback special. I like it. Man, look how early Rashee Rice is going in these drafts now. Remember the early offseason days when I was drafting Rashee Rice at like pick 72. Sorry, Jackson. I just think that's interesting. Henry Walker, H.A., nice. Javonte, good at running backs. Lamb, Olave, Flowers, Watson, not bad. Coleman, okay. Kincaid at tight end, certainly not bad at all. Even for a 10-teamer, I think you're in a good spot here. I mean, you're starting either quarterback, you're starting Kincaid, Henry and Walker, Lamb and Olave, and then this is like a tough. You got to flex A-Chain, I think. But Flowers and Watson are going to be really tasty on a regular basis. I mean, some people might say you got to start Henry and A-Chain, bench Walker, and then flex Walker or flex Flowers or Watson. That's really. I mean, these are some of the problems you run into with a good roster in a 10-man format, or even like especially an 8-team format. Is like that's a draft for an 8-team league is easy, right? But the problem is week in, week out, you're making these really tough decisions, and like generally, like the reason you lose in a smaller league is because you left points on the bench. So, yeah, I mean, team looks good, but who do I start is tough. I think week 1, I'll start Caleb Williams because he's at home. Let me make this draft selection. I'll go Christian Kirk. Almost took Dalton Kincaid there. So I'll go Caleb Williams at home. I'll go Henry. Man, that's tough. I'll go Walker. I really like Walker this week. I'll flex A-Chain. I'll start Lamb and Olave. But man, that is just tough. Like I said, the only other combinations is you move A-Chain to RB2, and you flex Walker, which is no different, or you move A-Chain to RB2 and you flex Watson or Flowers. But I think for I think I go all 3 running backs, Lamb and Olave, Kincaid, Caleb. That's tough. Don't mind losing this first game because our waivers work from worst to best. So if I do poorly, it could be an opportunity. Sure. Highest upside team. Okay. I mean, that's still tough because I still think Walker and A-Chain hold a ton of upside, and you can't bench Henry. I don't think it's any different for me. I just like Watson a lot this week, but I think I go with the 3 running backs, Olave, Lamb, Caleb, Kincaid. Johnny, what's up, man? Flex start full PPR 12 team Zamir White or Watson. I do like both this week, but in full PPR, I'm going to stick with Christian Watson against Philadelphia secondary. So, yeah, full PPR, I'll take Watson. Some reports say that Dowdle could get the majority of the Cowboys carries. Is he worth a roster spot? Yeah, he is absolutely worth a roster spot. And that's kind of been my opinion throughout essentially the entire offseason now. Yeah, he's worth a roster spot for sure. But be careful with those reports. I'm still I don't know. I just want to see this backfield shape out, but I do think Dowdle's the guy. Yeah, absolutely worth the pick. Tommy, always look forward to your sit starts. I appreciate that. Be going full swing this year. Bears or Packers defense rest of the season. I think I go with. I think the Bears. Let's take a look at schedule. I mean, that's the problem is if you're streaming defenses, you're going to be rotating some teams and taking the risk of throwing them on waivers, maybe rostering two, but I prefer just to fight the waiver. Let's see. I mean, the Packers get Eagles, Cowboys, Titans, Dolphins, Rams, Cardinals, Texans, Jags, and Lions. I don't like that schedule at all. I mean, they're on the road when they face Tennessee. They got a bye week. Then they're at the Bears, Niners, Dolphins, Lions, Seahawks, Saints, Vikings. I mean, the last 3 games are okay, but at that point, you can fight for them on the waivers at the end of the season. Then the Bears will have the Titans, Texans, Colts, Rams, Panthers, Jags. A bye week. Commanders, Cardinals, Patriots, Packers, Vikings, Detroit, San Francisco, Vikings, Detroit, Seattle. I mean, it's a better schedule. So I guess the Bears also finished 10 spots in fantasy ahead of the or no, not 10 spots. Sorry, 8 spots. But yeah, I think I just go with the Bears. But who else is out there? I mean, really, like I don't really try to look the way I look at fantasy defenses. I don't try to look at one team. Like, yeah, maybe you hit on, a team like the Cowboys or the Bills last year, the Ravens, and you were able to just roll with them all year long. But that doesn't happen very often. Like I look to stream defenses, and it's a dangerous game at times, but I don't think you look at even some of the top scoring defenses last year. Look at the Jets, for example. They were the defense 20 points in week 1, 1 point in week 2, 4 in week 3, 7 in week 4, then 19 points, 11 points, you look at the Cowboys, even being the defense number 1 last year. I mean, they had a whopping 40 points in that blowout week 1 against the Giants. Then they had 16. Then they had 1. Then they had 28. Then they had 0. Then they had 3. Then they had a bye week. Then they had 14, 4, 7, 22, 16, -1, 14. Then when it counted the most, which you probably dropped them, I remember a lot of people dropping them, but fantasy playoffs, they went 1 point at Buffalo, 1 point at Miami, 5 points at home against the Lions. So even some of these top tier teams are going to be really volatile. And that's why I don't mind streaming defenses at all. Because the volatility is probably going to be there anyways. All right, DG8. How's the 10-team PPR? We got Dak, ETN, Swift, Lamb, Lundo, Laporta, Nico, B-Rob, Reed, Moss, D-Hop, Zeke, Purdy, Dobbs. It's double flex. If you're starting Dak, ETN, Swift, Lamb, London, Laporta, flexing Nico, flexing Jaden Reed, B-Rob, Zach Moss, good on the bench. Dobbs, fine on the bench. Zeke is kind of meh. D-Hop's kind of meh, but they're okay. Purdy as a backup's great. So starting lineup looks good. I probably give this team a solid 8. I mean, both your flexes, you have studs there. Great tight end, good quarterback room. I'm high on Swift, so I'm okay with him as your RB2. ETN's a great RB1. I like your wide receivers. Not my favorite bench, but I still think Zach Moss, Brian Robinson, good running back depth. I like Dobbs. D-Hop and Zeke you can work with at least. So solid 8. Abraham, can you rate my team? We got Purdy, Kyron, Kenneth, Cook, Chuba, JJ, London, Ridley, Wicks, Hollywood, Lockett, Kittle, and Goddard. So starting lineup is going to be Purdy, Kyron, Kenneth, JJ, and London, flexing Ridley. I don't know. I might flex Cook. I probably flex Cook against the Cardinals week 1. But you have options. That's good. Wicks, we're going to sit back and see what happens. Let me make this draft pick. Let's go Jordan Love. He's against ADP. I don't have anyone to stack him with unless I guess I could go for Wicks next round, but he's the best quarterback available. I'll just take him. And there goes Wicks. This guy's been sniping people all draft. Like, no, he took Kincaid from the Allen drafter. Maybe that's it, but I don't know. I mean, he is kind of wide receiver thin at this point in the draft, so snappy pants. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, this team, another solid 8, I think. The RB is very nice. Kind of depends on the format. It's full PPR. Okay, so sorry, I just saw your next comment. But so Purdy, Kyron, Kenneth, JJ, London, Ridley. Like, this is kind of something missing with the wide receiver depth there. I do think you'll be flexing. I would flex Cook week 1 over Ridley. So when you think about this Bears defense, we kind of talked about them tonight. They're in a good spot at home. What do they have to worry about outside of Calvin Ridley? Like, D-Hop's hurt. If he plays, he's not fully healthy. There's no other wide receiver on the team that worries me. Like, Tyler Boyd doesn't worry me. What is Treylon Burks the next guy up? Like, not worried about the tight ends on this team. The run game might be okay, but like I just think the Titans aren't going to have this like big ceiling week 1. So I think I'd flex Cook, but team's okay for sure. GT Sport, what's up? How do you feel about Deontay Johnson as a wide receiver 3? I mean, yeah, I've liked Deontay Johnson all off season. I'm fine with him if that's who you're rolling with. No qualms on my end. So, I maybe prefer him where he was going in drafts as like a I didn't mean to take Purdy there, but oh well. Something I have to see if T-Law fell in this draft, which I don't think he would have, or just go in and take him against ADP over Purdy. And now I have Jordan Love and Purdy unstacked. We'll see how it works out. But yeah, I maybe prefer Deontay Johnson as like a wide receiver 4, but if he's your wide receiver 3, as long as it's full PPR, it's okay. I think he'll have a good season. Yeah, I've been on Deontay all off season. Slatton, what's up? I'm making a bet with the dude for the Broncos Hawks game for 200. If I lose, I'm gonna run off though. If my Hawks win, which we will, he better pay up. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a good bet, but don't try to get into bets with where you're gonna run away or he's gonna not pay. With you, I really want to trade Watson or Flowers because it hurts so much to have them on the bench. I mean, it's okay. This is the time of year where you want to have this problem. This is the time of year where you want to have too much depth because things might look really different week 6. So let it hurt for now. I'm also asking my league mates if we can make it 2 flex because we all reasonably can. Yeah, I mean, hard to change that, in my opinion, after the draft because, that definitely impacts given draft strategy. But all my leagues are double flex. So what do you think the split will be for Moss, Brown, and full PPR? Would you start Brown or Chuba this week? Yeah, I think Moss gets the majority of the touches here in week 1, because they're going up against the Patriots. So, I mean, I think if Chase Brown gets involved, it'll be towards the end of the game because I expect, the Bengals to be in front of things throughout this game. So, um, I think Brown could get involved, but I think that's going to be more dependent on, game script as this game continues on. So, not like super super stoked. I have Moss as a start, and I don't have Chase Brown in the start category this week. Let's see this volume emerge at the position as the season goes on. When I start Brown or Chuba, I'd probably still start Chuba based on volume alone, but the matchup's still better for Brown in theory. Space Ghost, coast to coast. What's up, man? It's that time of year, baby. What's up? Good to see you. I have Christian. Oh, you got Kirk too? Yeah, I mean, you might want to push for a double flex format. Your team's loaded. Can Drake London take that leap this year? Yes. I mean, this is the same offense that Puka Nacua absolutely balled in last year. So I would say yes. He's got the quarterback to help him do it. So yes. I'm still in on Drake London. I've maybe fluctuated once or twice throughout the offseason. I do like London this year a lot, though. RB room's kind of gross. Do I go Gus Bus or Eckler? Definitely Gus Edwards. I mean, I think that the Raiders defense has a unique opportunity on the road here. I'm not overly ecstatic about this matchup at all. I'm not overly ecstatic about the Chargers this week. But I still think Gus Edwards is in the best position, maybe of any Chargers offensive player this week. So I'm still going to roll with him. I think he's a perfectly fine start. And especially, I mean, the perceived volume out of Eckler is going to be much lower. So yeah, I'll go Gus Bus. Gus, no question, he's the lead back in LA. I mean, I still think he is, and I think in week 1 he will be. But the question is going to be how much involvement does Dobbins get? What does Vidal look like as the season goes on? We're just going to have to sit back and kind of find out. But yeah, I think both those guys could start to be incorporated in the offense, but I think in week 1, it's still the Gus Bus. Dowdle would just serve as a depth piece until I see if Chubb or Keaton Mitchell return, then definitely pick up Dowdle. Definitely. Week 1, I'm flexing 1 Reed and 1 Mostert or Ford. I also have A-Chain in my lineup. That's tough. If you want to diversify, go Ford. If you're okay not diversifying, just go Mostert. I like both a lot this week. I had both in the like start category in the video, but kind of both guys I mentioned, like I do like Mostert a lot this week, and I do like Ford a lot. So if you feel better about diversifying, Ford is definitely okay. Someone took the Saints defense as soon as I was about to pick them up. Which defense would you choose? The Vikings, Raiders, or Bucks? I think I'd go the Vikings. That's who I have in the video for the week. So I'll go Vikings. Raiders are okay. I don't really trust the Bucks defense this week, but if you, I think they're going up against the potential best offense out of these 3 teams. So put it that way. But Vikings are on the road, and I mean the Raiders are on the road where the Bucks are at home. So it's tough. Sucks you didn't get the Saints because I think they're a smash play there. Go Hawk. I feel like Puka as a late first. I still love Puka as a late first. Like we wouldn't have any question about Puka if he never got the knee injury. So all signs are saying he's good to go. I'm still in on Puka. Chig 100-yard game. I mean, maybe, but we'll find out. Watson or JSN? I'm gonna go Watson for the week. I do like JSN though. What do you think about my team for a 8-man league, double flex, no kicker? I mean, I would imagine without reading the team, it's probably stacked. Lamar, Alvin Kamara, Jacobs, Tyreek, Jay Jettis, Kelsey, Flowers, Cooper. I mean, yeah, you're in a great spot. You just want to look for the most upside on a weekly basis, and you have plenty of it heading into week 1. So I think you're okay. It's tough in those 8-man leagues. Tough decisions every week. What's up, Easy Money? Trying to put the money in the safe. Keep saying I have to be 18 years or older. If you have Cash App or Venmo, you can do it that way as well. So just DM me on Sleeper, Discord, and we'll get it figured out. Any suggestions? Josh Allen, Justin Jefferson, Devonta Smith. What's the rest of the question? That's not your whole team. Man, hold on. Let me get sorry, the chat did the thing where it restarts for me. Let me see if you did put the rest of your team. Okay, here we go. Okay. That was weird. Maybe it just wasn't showing me the full team. Let me make this draft pick. I'm just going to load up at quarterback in this draft for no reason. So somebody's going to be really mad at me. And I'm really thin at running back. So I've got, I take one more tight end and all running backs. Gross. Okay, so you got Josh Allen, JJ, Devonta, Gibbs, Jones, Kincaid, Worthy. Your bench is Pollard, Chase Brown, Sutton, Polk, and A.D. Mitchell. Definitely not a bad squad here. Starting lineup looks really good. Allen, J.J. Smith, Gibbs, Jones, Kincaid, Worthy. Nice for the week. I mean, Worthy, we're assuming he's going to have a lot of upside in this first game here, and I think he will. But if you want to go with a safer floor, maybe go Cortland Sutton. Other than that, your lineup is exactly where it needs to be. Ghost Hunter, have a good night, man. Expect you to be in a lot more of the live streams. I hope Will Levis does not put any mayo in my coffee. My only 10 team, 2 wide receivers, 2 flex. We got Allen, A-Chain, Gibbs, Rome, Ridley, Kincaid, Kyron, JSN, the Bass Man himself, Chiefs defense, Corum, Wright, Javonte, Brian Thomas Jr., Curtis Samuel, Taysom Hill. Looks pretty good to me. Starting lineups, Allen, Gibbs, Dunze, Ridley, Kincaid. You got another triple RB team here. Kyron, JSN. I don't want to start the Chiefs defense week 1. Other than that, I think it's okay. Tommy says, smash that like button. Appreciate that, Tommy. What do you think about my team? 16-man, $300 league. We got AR, Brees, Najee, Amon-Ra, Zay, Pitts, and McLaurin. I mean, starting lineup looks good. $300. I mean, for a 16-team league. Sorry, I for some reason glanced over that. Yeah, for a 16-team league, this is a really good starting lineup. So I'd feel good, Christian. Really good starting lineup. Better than my 16-team lineup. And I'm not playing for 300 entry. Sorry, I skipped over this one. Pickens or McLaurin? I'm flexing forward. I go McLaurin week 1. I mean, both of these wide receivers are going to have like nice perceived volume in week 1. So I'm okay here. Just going ahead and playing McLaurin, though. I mean, I'm okay with playing Pickens too. It's a little tough there. You got Russell Wilson throwing or Jaden Daniels in his first start on the road. I think I go McLaurin by a hair, but I'm still okay with Pickens. That one's tough. Problem, I have to drop one for a kicker from the 1-3. C-Mac, Gibbs, Adams, Laporta, Stroud, Pickens, Terry, Ramondre Rome, Sutton, Moss Ford, Ladd McConkey, Mason in Philadelphia. So you have to drop one. Is it Jordan Mason? I mean, Jordan Mason's a great handcuff, but he's probably the least valuable team or player on this team. So I mean, I guess I dropped Jordan Mason here. I mean, I think he feels great to have as a handcuff, but I probably just dropped Jordan Mason. I think Ford and Moss too much immediate value, and everyone else you just can't afford to drop. So yeah, we'll get it figured out. Don't worry, bro. Don't worry. Yeah, I mean, and like Mason's a great handcuff because you have C-Mac as well, but he's still the least valuable player on that team. So all right, I have to draft a running back. Oh, gosh, I don't know how I got that pick in. I might even just draft only running backs to end here and go into. I mean, I got Schultz and Hawkinson. So I was going to draft a third tight end, but I don't even know at this point. What are your thoughts on Javonte or Najee for my RB2 in the 16-man? Yeah. Here in week 1, I think you can really go with either player. You have both the Broncos and the Hawks on the road here. So I think I still go Najee, but having Javonte on the bench is a good thing. He's got two tough offenses. I mean, we got Bo Nix and Russell Wilson as the starting quarterbacks, both teams on the road here. I think I still lean Najee. But if you feel better about Javonte, I'm definitely okay with starting Javonte there. So it's definitely close. But yeah, I think I'm going to go with Najee. Should I trade Gibbs for White and Higgins? So if you do this trade, you'd have Allen, J.J. Smith, Rashad White, Aaron Jones, Kincaid, Higgins in the flex with Worthy, Sutton, Chase Brown, Polk, A.D. Mitchell on the bench. This is a tough question to ask me because I'm like so biased towards Rashad White. I was like my most drafted player last year. Top 5 back in PPR. Nobody seems to care. Super good ADP throughout the off season here. I still like Gibbs, and I still think the upside for Gibbs is far higher. So this is close. I think I'm gonna say you can do it if you're comfortable with it. But I think that I would go ahead and just roll with Gibbs. It's super close though. Super close. I was asking other people, they don't like AR. Should I package them up in a trade, get a top 4 option, or keep? I mean, in a 16-team format, I'd probably just take the upside of Anthony Richardson on a weekly basis. But At the same time, it's like I don't know. Do you have another quarterback on this team who's maybe more of like a pocket passer, less injury prone guy? Then you just keep AR. It depends on what you have to package because like players are so valuable in a 16 team league that depends on how it impacts the rest of the roster. And it depends on what quarterback you get because Anthony Richardson right now is going as like what the QB 6, 7 in most drafts. So I don't quite know if what you're going to be able to. You're going to have to sacrifice something on your team to really do this trade or tier up theoretically. Week 1 flex, JSN or Javonte. Full PPR, I think you can take the risk on JSN. If it's any other format, then you can definitely go Javonte. But I think for the most part, I go ahead and quote unquote take the risk and just roll. Just roll with JSN here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, another great stream. Thank you guys so much for the week 1 fantasy questions. Definitely want to do whatever I can to get you guys ready for week 1. Don't freak out. We got plenty of time. But we're going to go ahead and wrap up here. So if you have a last second question, get it in here in the chat. There's must start running backs, or excuse me, start sit running backs. And then right after, I will also drop start set wide receivers. Make sure you guys go check out the videos. Drop me a comment, drop a like, but most importantly, watch the videos because I break down each matchup pretty in depth for you guys and go over every relevant player. I mean, literally, some of the players I go over are not even relevant, but still went over them. So make sure you guys go check out those videos. If you guys do play in a format or league that has defensive teams as well, must start defenses are out for the week. Start sits at quarterbacks and tight ends will drop tomorrow as well. Cat's good to catch you here at the end. What's up, bro? All right, Brad. Chase Brown, Chuba, Keon for Addison, Judy. No. I mean, if you're getting Brown, Chuba, and Keon, yes. If you're trading them, no. I mean, I like Addison. In the wide receiver video, I put Addison as a flex option this week. I still think until Addison's suspended or this ankle injury is keeping him out of games, like Addison's still a flex-worthy wide receiver, but Keon Coleman can definitely evolve. Oh, you're getting those 3? Yeah, I do the trade. I mean, I like Chase Brown as a good handcuff with lots of upside. He might get involved early on. Chuba's at least got grip on that backfield for 4 weeks, but I think even once Jonathan Brooks is back, like he's still going to get touches. Go back and look at what Chuba did the end of last year. He was a league winner, even if his stealing wasn't high. Then Keon, I would take over Judy in a heartbeat. So, I mean, maybe it depends on the rest of your roster, but yeah, I think I would do this trade for sure. And I think most in the chat would agree that this is a good trade. So, I mean, I'm not out on Addison. I'm not, but I think there's enough here to go ahead and do this trade, especially if you're kind of hurting at the running back position. This gives you some nice cushion on the bench, so to speak, even if they are not fantastic or long-term plays. There's nice kind of cushion depth pieces. So, all right, guys, I'll be back on tomorrow. More content dropping tomorrow. Like I said in the chat, start sits, running backs, wide receivers, every player, every matchup. Quarterbacks, tight ends will drop tomorrow. More content will be pumping out all week long leading up to that Thursday night matchup between the Ravens and the Chiefs, and we'll be streaming full force leading into Sunday morning to get you guys ready for week 1 as well. So, Brad, if Zeke's your RB2, I'd probably do that trade. Yeah. All right, man. Love you guys. Love this community. Love the Catch fam. If you guys need anything, go check out the videos. Go drop me a comment. Hit me up on Discord or Sleeper. But right now, as we're officially underway, the best ways to get in contact with me or ask me fantasy questions are going to be in the YouTube comment sections on the videos and or in the live stream. So I'll catch you guys soon. Everyone be safe. Have a great Tuesday. With that, I'll say thank you guys so much for listening. And remember, you saw it here on The Catch. And peace.